humanitarian excesses in the Ogaden and Somalia because it is fighting a proxy war with Eritrea. I mean, so what does that have to do with whether the United States should have a principled stance in advocating humanitarian access and in respect to human rights in Ogaden and Somalia?
I apologize if in the summation it didn't come out clearly. It's certainly in my written testimony. My position is actually that there is a problem in the Ogaden. No one is denying it, least of all myself. I mentioned, in fact, I go into detail about the problem created by the trade blockade that has occurred, disrupting patterns of life. So certainly those need to be reopened. What I am saying, however, is that unfortunately, the root of instability is not in Ethiopia. It begins in Somalia, which gives the government the pretense to carry out some of its actions. And some of its actions, not the humanitarian blockade, not human rights abuses, but some of the actions it's taken are understandable within that broader dynamic of cooperation between terrorist groups in Somalia with members who are operative in Ethiopia. So one can't solve any aspect of this problem I'm trying to get at without looking at the regional dynamic. One has to deal with Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia all together as part of one continuum, because otherwise we kind of hop around the fire, stomping it here, and then it crops up there. Doesn't mean we don't put out fires. We just have to put it out across the entire area that's ablaze, if you.
Okay, well then I'm going to just make a statement. I hope your addendum in your list of that you added to your statement, I hope that it also includes what's happened because of the Ethiopian security forces on what they've done on innocent human rights abuses in the region, and not just what happened in Ogaden. I think I'm saying that right. Am I saying it right? I mean, well, okay, I said it as best as I can. I'm not the chairman. I don't understand the question, obviously. So we're good. That question, what I'm saying is we hope your list is inclusive, not selective.
The list was not meant in any way, Madam, to be exhaustive. Looking at the panel, I presumed, and I think correctly, that there are others better qualified to speak about the abuses of the Ethiopian government, and Human Rights Watch has certainly done a tremendous job documenting it, so I filled in what I thought would be the missing element there, and it's certainly not meant to be exclusive.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Zarisi, the administration has repeatedly told Congress that the Ethiopians don't respond well to public pressure, that the State Department officials seem to believe that quiet diplomacy on issues such as democracy and human rights is much more effective than public statements. What do you agree? Do you agree with that assessment? Are you at all concerned that if the United States takes a public stance in support of human rights and humanitarian access, that it will actually have a harmful effect on the very people that we're trying to help? And I have a little addendum to this, and if we can't trust what Human Rights Watch is saying, who can we trust? Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Let me just thank this very distinguished panel for providing the very good commentary, incisive commentary. It helps this committee enormously to have your very reasoned thoughts, so I want to thank you on behalf of all of us. It really does help us to know what is really going on the ground. And Dr. Negra, thank you for your persistence of 2 political prisoners on one panel. That's quite an important statement, I think, on the part of this subcommittee, how much we are in solidarity with those who are being falsely and wrongly incarcerated and mistreated by the Melis government. Now, I asked Secretary Jendai Frazier earlier in the hearing how many political prisoners, how many detainees does the U.S. government estimate the Melis government continues to hold. And I'm wondering if any of you have any estimate, a range, a precise number perhaps, I know that's very hard to come by, that you might provide to the subcommittee so that we have a sense as to what
If I'm allowed, I want to comment on the question that you asked earlier to Dr. Palm in relation to the degree to which pressure on governments work. I mean, one of the most fascinating things that we hear always from African governments is this protestation that pressures don't work. They do work. In fact, more than anything else, even more than quiet diplomacy, serious, coordinated, and well-targeted pressures do work. One of the problems of putting sufficient pressure on the Ethiopian government during, the massacre of hundreds of people in 2005 was the lack of coordination between the United States and the other supporters of the Ethiopian government. In fact, the EU was very adamant in taking strong position to punish the Ethiopian government for what it has done. It was the U.S. government that was prohibiting or at least allowing not to coordinate that pressure, which gave room for the Ethiopian government to maneuver its way out of the problem. If pressures don't work, why would the Ethiopian government pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire lobbyists to influence this Congress? Protestations are something, but we know, as a matter of fact, for countries such as Ethiopia, if the pressure is put to bear on reasonable grounds, on issues of principle that the government itself claims to uphold, all the question that the Ethiopian government is asked is to implement its constitution, and that's what it refuses to do. And I think pressure to do that, especially if it is going to help to avoid a looming crisis, which I believe there is a strong crisis that there is a gathering storm in Ethiopia. If all these small conflicts in the various regions, build up as they will, and that, insofar as the government's belligerence continues, they will. There is no other way. Then the danger for the country and the region is really quite serious. But the other issue, I think, what one must consider as for Congress is when the issue of pressure is applied, you put pressure not only because you would see an immediate effect on it, it's also because you don't want to be part of that problem. By supporting the Ethiopian government and by supporting its brutality in any form, you would be, to a certain degree, if not by commission, by omission, part of that problem. We have enough in our plates to fight a dictatorship that we think is in its, not only in the rest of Ethiopia, but in its benefit to resolve peacefully and through negotiations. Not to do that will put the United States in a larger difficulty as time passes. But it becomes very difficult for us who are in the democracy movement to also fight the United States when you hear statements that we're hearing from I was absolutely flabbergasted when the U.S. representative in Addis came to Kalite and asked me to abrogate my position as mayor in order to provide stability to the Ethiopian government. When you have that kind of statement coming from the United States government, then you have a very, very serious difficulty in
Thank you, Ms. Doctor. I took up